We are filming, okay. Welcome back all to the Bulang & Sons channel. Today we're going to do it very easy. We're going to just talk about our watch predictions. We're a little bit late, we're already in March. But we're going to do our watch predictions for 2024. Looking through the eye of a watch dealer, experienced watch dealer, especially experienced in vintage watches and neo-vintage watches. What were the last trends of 2023? What we are expecting for 2024, and just also talk with us in the chat, in the comments, let us know, and if you have next questions for a next episode, also put them in the comments as well, then we will
predictions, yes,
check them out for the next video. And I want to start off first with my colleague Guy to ask him, which watch are you wearing today?
I am wearing a stone dial and stone bezel Piaget dress watch at the moment, and I think we will come back to that in the middle somewhere of the video, because Piaget is becoming a thing in 2024 and you can really see it in this one. It's a very cool combination between materials. So this one is coral and onyx, which gives it a very cool look. It's a small watch. I don't have the largest wrist, I have to say, so it's fine for me, but it's beautiful watches from Piaget.
What I really like about that watch is that it combines what Piaget stands for, the like jewelry style watches with these stone dials and stone effect. It's really, really pretty. Even in that smaller size, it's really still a statement piece. So really, really a very unique and surprising watch.
Yeah, it's a contrast for me between the colors as well. So kind of the orange color of the coral, and the coral is it's not super commonly used in watches. It's more commonly used in Piaget, I have to say, but in Rolex, for example, you don't see it very often.
You see it in the dates and Datejusts,
but it's super cool material. Yes, something very
nice piece. We recently picked it up, and you have been enjoying it on your wrist for quite a few days now. So don't fall in love with it, because we still need to sell it as well. So no, it's really, really cool watch, which will be also soon available on the website. Myself, I'm wearing I wouldn't say a more boring watch than he is, but it's a classic from Rolex. It's the pinnacle of vintage Rolex. It's a vintage Daytona, really, really a special watch. What I really like about this example is that it's not a big red. This one does not feature the name Daytona on the dial. It's still referred to as the Cosmograph Oyster, or the Oyster Cosmograph as it should be in this watch. Really, really a pretty example, sometimes referred to as the Ghost Daytonas, because the Daytona was previously printed onto the watch and later taken off, possibly.
It's difficult to see, right?
Yeah, if you look with a certain angle, with a loupe or microscope, you can see still a few letters of Daytona, which used to be on the dial, but it has been taken off at some point by Rolex. God knows why, but it's really, really a pretty example. Of course, the classic panda combination, really, really nice, and just the pinnacle of vintage Rolex. And in my opinion, one of the most beautiful, perhaps even the most beautiful watch ever produced.
I know for me, I remember that we tried to look at the dial at the Daytona last week somewhere, also with some colleagues that weren't really into watches.
Yeah.
So
our team is not only watch experts, we also have other team members who are really passionate about our company, but not especially about the vintage watches, like the watch team that we are from. And we try to explain them the specialty of this dial, and if you can see with a certain light, and they couldn't see it, so it's really, really a connoisseur's watch, really, really nice, and it's not for sale, it's a private piece. So that's what I'm rocking today. But there are also a few watches on the table, which are the watches that we want to talk about. Maybe not these in specific, some examples in specific, but because they resemble some of the predictions that we are making for 2024. And the first one to start off with is maybe a trend that we saw at the end of 2023.
Yeah, really at the
after
end of
the summer. During the summer, which is that, if you look towards this section, is that the Datejust and Day-Dates are absolutely booming and super interesting at the moment. Especially these two watches have been very underappreciated over the last decade. But they're really, really becoming more and more popular, and especially the ones with a special dial.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's also looking at the price differences, right? If you look at a new golden Rolex, then you're at a huge difference in price, and then you look at the vintage ones, and they still have very much to offer. Especially, we have one example here with the plexiglass and one with the sapphire, and the sapphire is already in some kind of sense very modern.
Yes.
And if you look at a modern Rolex, it's almost twice the price, so it's still very good bang for buck.
What the thing is about these watches is that the Daytona that I'm wearing today is seen as the pinnacle of Rolex, the grail watch for every vintage watch collector. But the sport watches were never the prestige models for Rolex, unlike today. So the Datejust and Day-Date references were their prestige lines, in which they made gold watches with stone dials, the Stella dials, the pattern dials, the guilloche dials, the rare combinations, which really, really make these watches refined and special. And especially collectors are seeking towards these watches today. And like, for example, the watch that we have here has become incredibly popular over the last years, but this is already a trend that has started a few years ago, but at the moment they are booming, which are the Stella dials. So these are the lacquered dials, mostly in bright colors. This is the Oxblot, which is perhaps the most bright one. It's really, really a pretty watch, and what unique is about these Stella dials is that they always have to be in incredible condition, because they tend to crack, which in some people's mind make them more collectible, but the true collector wants to have the perfect example with the perfect gloss finish in really, really great condition, which is rare to find these days. And you see so many beautiful variations from white gold, yellow gold, with these bright colored dials, which really, really makes them stand out. What's your favorite Stella dial?
For me, the favorite Stella dial? I have no clue. I like the brighter colors, I have to say. The Oxblot is nice as in terms of it's very wearable every day. I would say this piece is very nice to wear every day, and it's still a Stella dial, because the other Stella dials, I have to say, are a little bit more difficult often to wear if you look at the brighter colors.
Yeah,
for us it doesn't. For me, it doesn't mind.
The Oxblot is perhaps the most wearable because it's a like very dark burgundy, almost red color. Which is really just a fantastic combination with gold, you know? It's really pretty.
Yeah, and you cannot really see it at a distance that's per se a Stella dial, so it's quite easy on the clothing as well. But yeah, I tend to like the brighter colors, like the light, the yellowish and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
my personal favorite is the white gold ones with these almost mint green dials. Really, really.
Or the light blue ones, maybe something like that as well. It's gorgeous.
It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible, and these are so rare to find these days, and also in incredible condition. So I completely understand that people are collecting these watches, and they are still growing in price, you know.
And it's not only rare to find, I have to say, it's rare to find a good one, not only a good one, but also a legit one. It's a combination of both.
Yeah, that's true, because these are very popular and very rare. They are also very faked.
Yeah,
you know?
there's a lot of aftermarket ones out there.
Aftermarket and fakes ones floating around. So you need to have a good eye. Always seek for a specialist who has experience in these vintage pieces, and then you will always find a great one.
You would say your prediction for 2024, because we're talking about 2023, the last months, would be more popularity towards the Datejust and Day-Date?
The Day-Dates and Datejusts, especially in white gold and yellow gold, with these special dials. So the Stella dials, and the other side is the stone dials, which also saw a big trend in last year.
Which would mean in this case that, for example, maybe the sapphire ones with the more normal dials and everything are going to kind of stay in the same level, but...
I don't know, you know, it's always hard to predict how much they are gaining in price, but in popularity, for sure. You know, these, especially if you look towards this example, this is a 16 or 18.
It's amazing quality.
With black dial. With the Super Jubilee bracelet in gold, which is just absolutely stunning. You know, also this watch this is a Day-Date 1803 with the Oxblot Stella dial, but it has also the Jubilee bracelet, which I would not say I prefer it over the President bracelet, but it has especially in gold, so much more refinement.
It's less known as well, right? So if you go for a gold Day-Date or something like that, you say, okay, a Jubilee, you see it less.
Yeah.
Of course, this is a Datejust, it's a date.
Yeah.
But people think of a golden bracelet and they think of the president bracelet. So I think that makes it's indeed more rare, but it's also just the public doesn't really know that much about them.
But this is just an incredibly beautiful watch. If you look towards this dial, the black glossy dial, which also has a soleil effect. If you turn it into the light, it's really, really pretty, especially in this gold case. And you know, the gold Datejusts are far more rare than the day dates, but they have always been less popular because everyone wanted to have a day date. So what's your opinion on that?
No, that's for me. It's the exact same. That's why I really like them, because you see a lot of people going for the steel Datejusts, of course, and going for the day dates afterwards. But sometimes, for example, with the stone dial. Yeah, then it's amazing not to have the window.
You know, everyone has his own opinion, but with the stone dials, I personally prefer the Datejust because it's just a bigger surface of stone. It doesn't have the day window at 12 o'clock. So the stone has a bigger surface and also tends to have a more beautiful pattern then.
Yeah, it's just easier on the eye. You have more stone to look at, so it's and in combination with plexiglass, that's even more amazing because you can see the stone.
The plexiglass models of both the Stella dials, stone dials, but also the Guilloche pattern dials, are so beautiful.
Talking about stone dials, going for the next prediction for 2024.
Yes.
We cannot go not to Piaget. There's no way. I mean,
Piaget are the masters of stone, so
you can really see a tendency towards the stone dials, I have to say. The ones that we've sold over the last couple of months, especially the beginning of 2024, we have had multiple Piagets also with more normal dials and something, but you can really see that people are looking for the stone settings, not only the dials, but also what I'm wearing right now, right? With the bezel, with like the different stones or something like that.
You know, that makes it unique, you know? And that's the thing about stone dials. It's a natural product, so all are different. So it's also interesting if you collect these watches, is if you have friends who collect them as well, you can all put them side to side, but they're all different.
Yeah, even if you have the same watch, and that's what you say in the same collection, every stone is natural, so every piece of stone is different from the other. That's also why a lot of times when we sell something like a stone dial, some people prefer to say, okay, I don't really like this piece of stone, I like that piece of stone more. I wanted to have this look or that look, which is funny because it's the same dial, but it's different.
You know, you could put 3 tiger eye day dates next to each other and they're all different, so that makes them unique, perhaps more collectible, and always also for the collector seeking the more special ones or the more pretty ones out of the market.
Isn't that something we see in 2024 where people say we are, as a mature collector, we are more looking towards something that the public doesn't expect from us to buy? I would say yes. But
maybe yes, you know, especially if you're a vintage Rolex collector, where always the statement was, you should buy vintage because your neighbor does not have the same watch. You're always seeing, especially at the moment, seeing this also with the vintage pieces. The collectors are seeking more towards the more special watches because other vintage collectors also don't have them. They're always seeking for the most special variations.
I mean, for this brand Piaget, you have a lot of like one-offs as well, unique pieces.
Yes, and that's also why Cartier has become so big, is because
same thing.
Especially the vintage examples before the 1970s were always made in small batches, so it's very hard to find a second example.
They have weird shapes, weird sizes. Yes. It's really Cartier, of course. Piaget has the same, right? And some things are even shared within the brands.
Yeah, Piaget made a lot of watches for Cartier as well.
So I can see why the one doesn't rule out the other. So we saw, of course, last year that Cartier was big. I mean, we saw, especially with these 2 pieces, you can remember that.
Yeah, that's crazy. So let's jump into these as well. You could probably see it from a distance. These are 2 Cartier Santos Carrés, which are the automatic references in steel 2960, and these are 2 steel and gold, so the 2961 references with special dials. So these are incredibly rare, especially if you look towards this one. This is a 2961 with the so-called burgundy dial. It was previously also sometimes referred to as a Stella dial, Stella Oxblood dial.
It's almost the same.
It's also a lacquered dial in an Oxblood red colorway, but if you put them side to side, you can see this one is a little bit darker, so it's not an Oxblood color. It's really, really an interesting watch because it really both represent a design style from the 80s that's so funky and different.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's really a hero, I must say, from the beginning of the 1900s that was
It's a timeless design. It was the first wristwatch, and then not these examples on the bracelet. But
this is a kind of renewed version from the 80s,
yes.
But still it has the charm and the style. Also in terms of size, I have to say. I mean, it's easy for us to speak with like a medium-sized wrist, but it's still, I mean, it's beautiful in terms of sizing and shapes. But we can see why these are getting popular.
Yeah.
But they are getting really popular.
No,
like,
they have always
really.
they have always been popular because they are, in most cases, for Cartier in quite a big size. It's not a huge watch, but it's not a small watch as well, and they are very sporty. So for many years, the Cartier Santos references have always been collected. But you see now that the tendency towards these special variations as well, like we talked about with the Dated and Datejusts, are happening. You know, this is the burgundy dial, which is very rare. And then we also have the slate gray dial, something to refer to as a ghost dial, but it's a metal style dial, which is vertically brushed from 12 till 6 o'clock, which is really a super nice combination to find in these watches because it's just super integrated into the design because it's also a brushed dial like the case and bracelet dial.
Would you say it's the same? It's the same story with the Datejust. So people are looking for normal Datejust, and then the Datejust gets more popular, and people are going to look for an option to stand out.
I think so, and especially with these watches, they are still on quite a accessible price range. So even if you are a beginning collector or a collector who has not like $1 million budget, you can still find very special watches, collectible watches, different watches. And that's really nice. And I personally really like this example, which is a 2961, but with a different bracelet. This is the Gaudron bracelet, which has a completely different link style, which is just super 80s funky. It's really Tony Montana style funk. It's so nice. And this is even way rarer because this bracelet was only in production for about a year. So it's really a rare combination to find, especially also with this dial. And I think these watches they are already booming, but they will be even more booming across the next year, upcoming year.
Probably they will go up, I have to say, a little bit. There is a large chance, but on the other hand, we can see it with the Datejusts as well, with the special dials. I think that's a pattern that probably will go through. But also looking at the smaller Cartiers, right? So the dress watches and others, for example, the ultra thins, the special pieces with special movements, special cases.
No. And the beautiful thing about Cartier is that every day people explore more about them and learn more about them. So today we always knew the Cartier tank, which just was the tank. But today we know about the Automatique, we know about the tank New York, the tank London, the tank Paris, the tank Ultra Thin, the tank Normal. There are so many variations. They always have been seen as just it's a Cartier tank, but now we're exploring them and finding out their rarity.
It makes it, I would say, difficult to research as well, because Rolex is quite, after the years, it's quite straightforward. But you can see now, because of the booming interest in it.
It's not as documented as Rolex.
Yeah.
So it's harder to find the exact data and exact knowledge, but even today and tomorrow, even more, connoisseurs and collectors will stand up who know more about them, and then we can learn about these watches.
For me, one side effect that it has as well is you can see people going towards smaller watches, which I really like.
That has been a trend over the last 2 years, but especially will be a trend in 2024. People are seeking more towards smaller watches, where like 5 years ago, everyone wanted a 45mm Panerai or a huge IWC.
To compensate for something.
I'm not sure, could be, but you see this trend really passing by smaller watches, especially around the 37mm or even 34 millimeters are getting more important. I don't know how big this watch is.
Yeah, this is quite small.
But this is quite the size of my thumb.
Yeah.
So it's pretty small.
This is quite small, but I can see. I had an appointment with a customer this weekend, and he was wearing a Datejust 41, a modern example. One of the first things that he bought when he had a little successful period, and he now bought a Obus CPCP, which is Collection Privé, which is a super different watch, which I really like, because he's going from a very big watch where he said, okay, if I wear it, it's fine, But if my girlfriend wears it, it's too much. Going to a smaller dress watch and refined, it's cool to see that people are open for that. I have to say, I can really see that in the conversations every day as well.
Yeah, it's true. Which of these two would you personally choose? Would you go for the burgundy or for the slate?
For me, in terms of combination, also just it's the red, it's the ruby crown as well and everything that I really like in this one, the contrast of these dials, and I like the glossy factor, I have to say. The slate dial is very cool because of course the ghost and everything. I would love to have this Gaudron bracelet on that watch.
On the burgundy.
So just the normal burgundy and the Gaudron on it, so that it makes it a little bit more special. Because I also like, just like you, I like the Gaudron bracelet a little bit more because it's more special maybe. But the other, they are both beautiful.
It's quite a hard choice. I have to say, dial-wise, I like both so much. But the Gaudron bracelet for me really is such a charismatic bracelet which really defines the style of that period. And what I like about it, it doesn't have the screws on top of the bracelet, which are always with the Santos watches in a disorder. They are never lined up. So if you're a little bit autistic like I am, it's hard.
The Hublot sickness.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom. So you know, the Gaudron bracelet is more balanced as well. It's a hard choice.
You don't know why, but on the other hand, I would say if you have them perfectly aligned, that would also look a little bit strange. I don't know. It looks natural as it is.
It's very French to don't have it. So
it's very
that's possibly the charm about it as well. I don't know. I couldn't pick either one of them. I possibly, in the full steel variation, I would go for the slate because then the watch is completely integrated. It's all brushed steel. And with the steel and gold, I maybe would go for the for the burgundy.
In steel, it's just cool because it's ton sur ton. It's one color. It's everything
the
same. So that makes it very. It is a piece that is for every day, for more dressy and also more sporty. But that makes it a tough piece. Just something that is very more sporty than it is.
Yeah,
like this.
But they are both as well in steel and gold, very, very pretty and funky watches.
Because we wouldn't categorize this as a dress watch, not at all.
I wouldn't personally. It's a very refined watch. You could really wear it as a dress piece as well. I think it would really suit as a dress watch, but it's not a dress watch from nature. Yeah, but they're really, really incredible watches, and if you are searching for one, we always have them in stock, especially the slate dials. We had many over the last years. They are very rare. We always have had the chance to find a few examples on the market in great condition. They are really, really popular at the moment and will be even more across the next year.
Thinking of one last thing, because we were going from Datejusts to Cartier, of course. I mean, it's normal being the trend in 2023 going on to 2024. I would think indeed the popularity is still going to rise because there's still some people that really do not know about Cartier yet that do, for example, know about Rolex so much. Then we have Piaget. Then I also think that all of this leads to, except for the Datejust, leads to, I see more acceptance towards the integrated bracelet styles as well.
No, that's a
jewelry
trend.
Pieces, let's call it like
yes. You know, that's maybe a trend that started with the popularity around the Royal Oaks and Nautilus. But there are a lot of watches which have an integrated bracelet, which in many cases makes the watch stand out more. That's also what I like really about this watch is it's not a watch with integrated bracelet, but the fact that it has the Super Jubilee bracelet makes it more I wouldn't say more a dress watch, but more a jewelry piece. And especially if you look towards watches with integrated bracelets, the design is always so charismatic. And
but also going towards maybe like the real gold going from the case. That you have to cut down the bracelets. You know, you have some experience with that.
Yeah.
We have some experience with
that's
the Piaget.
You see it a lot with
the
Patek ellipses.
Pateks, the ellipses indeed, and everything like that. I think all of this leads to those being more popular as well. There is a lot of attention towards more dress watches. Sport watches are still very
attractive and very
Because I think
collectible and very collected. But dress watches are getting more
I don't
important.
know what you think about it, but I think like 2 years ago, a lot of people would look at it as a grandfather's watch.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
watches
I mean,
like Piaget and
yeah.
Cartier. They were old money style people watches, and that has gained more popularity. So what, in your opinion, would be we talked about our predictions for 2024 on what we learned over the last half year, but what would be your prediction towards what's still a sleeper in the market? What could still be a potential booming watch for upcoming year, or which hasn't been discovered in the eye of the collector yet?
It has been discovered in the eye of the collector yet, but I'm more looking towards the more, I would say, starting collectors. And I've been diving a little bit deeper into, for example, the Universal Genevas, the Poderotas, for example, of course, very known. Something like that, I have to say, people are going to appreciate, but maybe also like odd chronos or something like that. The older style, 60s, 70s, chronographs in different styles. For me, I think Universal Geneva still has a step up to go. We've seen it with Piaget. Also, after having the new Polo that was released like a couple of
which went completely crazy.
Week ago or something, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
people went completely crazy about that remodel. I think Universal Geneva still has a way to go in that one as well. I really love the brand. I love the movements as well as a student watchmaker. So it's something I appreciate. Yes,
I understand that. Yeah,
but yeah, I would say. Maybe
so the more important, historically important chronographs from UG, for example, that's something you see.
I think people are because a lot of people are maybe mature collectors or more, they have the Rolexes and they have different things, and you can see a lot because of people are connected via, for example, Instagram or something like that people are discussing about going forward to other brands. I think people are going to appreciate the step further into historical significance.
It could be. I'm excited to see that happen because these are really, really pretty watches. There are so many watches around. We always look towards the Rolexes and the famous watches worn by many celebrities, but there are so many incredible watches also from small brands, and especially if you look towards the 50s, etc. It's really, really incredible to see, and I hope that especially in Universal Geneva will also be.
Let's hope so. I mean, I can see a lot of people that are going into that.
Yeah, personally, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure what my prediction would be. What still is sleeper, it always has to do with what will happen. If there is a certain celebrity who will wear a certain watch tomorrow, a big community will look towards that and start to collect that. I don't know, but personally for me, a watch that's still quite unappreciated are the very early Datejusts, like the one I have in my hands, which is a 6305, which is the first steel reference Datejust, but also the earlier examples from the beginning of the 1950s in gold and white gold and platinum, etc. These are still watches that are very underappreciated towards the sport models from this era.
In this sense, where we say you go towards other brands, you can also dive deeper in a certain brand. And this is what happens when you see people who start off with, for example, a 16014, 16030 or something like that, and think, okay, now I want the special markers and I want this and that, and then they come to this one, for example, and what happens.
The 6305 is quite a rare reference, but you also have the later references like the 6605 and 6604, which is the one with the dome bezel, which don't have the fatter K style, but these watches have more detailing towards them, especially if you look towards the dial with the applied Rolex logo and the...
It's just more going on.
Yeah, it's more a luxurious piece, in my opinion, than the later Datejust references, and especially if you look towards the very early watches like this one with still the coin edge white gold bezel. It's really, really interesting, and there are so many beautiful variations. This is quite a rare one as well, which has a black depth on the dial, which is very rare to find. And these watches are still also in the Rolex collectors community, very underappreciated.
Yeah,
And I think they will seek more attention in the future because they are rare. Not many survived in great condition. They are very important as well. So these are, in my opinion, still sleepers.
I'm thinking maybe of one brand as well, because the LVMH group just took it over just like half a year ago, maybe a year ago, I don't know. Gerald Genta, maybe that is going to go.
I'm also really looking forward what they are going to do with the brand, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
I have no clue.
The group took over the branding, so maybe something happens with these going forward to the older watches. We see them come across a lot on Instagram and everything like that with dealers from our network and everything.
You know what the thing is with these Gerald Genta pieces is that they are so funky that you would never buy them as your first or second watch.
No.
We had a few examples over the last years, but they were always bought by collectors who had like so many watches that they just wanted to have something different. So I'm really interested in what they're going to do with the brand and also what that means for the vintage original watches that he still designed himself.
I have the feeling that they are still going to be in that extravagant kind of...
No, they're not going away from that DNA, you know, that's the core of the brand. So they're not going to do that, but I don't know, man.
But we also had some quite well-selling, easy-going pieces like the three-handed.
Yeah, but they made incredible pieces. They made incredible watches.
And we had some very outstanding ones. You can remember the platinum one.
Yeah, the piece unique.
Hammered look on it and everything like that.
That was an incredible piece.
So they have some very cool stuff. I'm wondering what is going to happen with the brand over the year. I think it's an important year for them because they took over last year.
Yeah.
And they now starting, or they started already, but you can see them a lot on Instagram now. But I just like the pieces. For example, yesterday I saw the Donald Duck one with the...
or the one with the golf ball. Yeah, that's...
It's cool. They're just cool pieces. And these are really the pieces that when you wear them, people are going to ask, what the hell is that? And
I don't know if I would wear them myself.
I would
like to own them, but I'm not sure if I would wear them.
Totally wear that, and I would even wear it until it stops running. It's I love those pieces, and I think they're just nice conversation starters. And that, I think, is kind of a wrap up of a lot of the story here of 2024. People are looking towards conversation starters, looking towards something different.
That's maybe the quote to make. People are looking towards conversation starters.
I thought of something nice today.
Yeah.
It's been a good day. No, it's...
Right. So, there you have it. These are our predictions for 2024. We went a little bit wild on them. But let us know what you think about our predictions. And if you have questions for our next video or just want to say anything, put it in the comments and then we will react on it or make a video about it. We're going to do a lot of more of these talking videos in which we're just going to talk about watches. So don't get bored of our faces yet. You will still see them in the future. Make sure to subscribe and hope to see you next time. Have a great day and you're always welcome at bulangandsons.com.
Time for some water.
Yeah.
I would say.
Cheers.